And the entire epic, all 150 of these songs, they all build up to this one single explosive line. This is it, the final verse of the final psalm. This is the destination for the whole journey. Every cry for help, every moment of doubt, every victory, it all leads right here.
So to really get the power of that final universal praise, we have to go back. We have to rewind the clock and listen to the very first voices that gave birth to these songs, way before there were any grand temple choirs.
The story gets its start with Moses, but then it's centuries before we meet its core voice, King David. From there, it expands with his son Solomon. And then finally, it's all gathered up and curated by the Levites to become the official songbook of Israel.
The very first voice we hear is from Moses. Just imagine, after a whole lifetime of leading people through the wilderness, watching a generation rise and fall, he's left with this incredibly profound thought about just how fleeting our lives really are.
And this is his prayer. It's not a shout for help or a song of victory. It's this deep, almost philosophical request for perspective. He's looking at how short our time is compared to God's eternity, and he's basically saying, help us make our days count. This whole epic begins right here with humility.
So, from Moses' quiet meditation, the story just explodes onto the scene with its central, most passionate voice, David. I mean, this guy's life was a total roller coaster of extremes. One minute he's a lonely shepherd, the next he's a hunted fugitive hiding in caves, and then he's a powerful king. And through it all, he wrote songs. This just captures the two sides of David's life so perfectly. On the left, you've got him on the run, surrounded, crying out for help. And on the right, after he messes up, big time, he's just broken, begging for a clean heart. It's that brutal honesty that made his prayers the voice for literally anyone who's ever felt cornered or completely broken.
Okay, so now the story starts to zoom out. David's really personal prayers, they actually lay the foundation for something much bigger. We're moving from the heart of one man to the hopes and dreams for an entire nation. The Psalms start asking, what does it mean to be a people, a society under God? So after David comes his son, Solomon. He inherits this kingdom of peace, of prosperity. And from his place of incredible power, he's not asking for rescue, he's asking for guidance. His whole focus shifts to justice, to what's right for his people.
And this is his vision. He believed that real royal power wasn't about having big armies or tons of gold. It was about using that power to defend the defenseless, to rescue the oppressed, and to value the life of the poorest person in the kingdom. Just incredible.
Now this is where the Psalms take a huge leap. They go from being the personal diaries of kings to becoming the public worship book for the entire nation. The Levites, they were the priestly tribe. They collected these songs and led the people in worship at the temple. These songs became the shared breath of a whole community. And the Levites didn't just throw them together randomly, no way. They organized them into 5 distinct books, basically creating an intentional spiritual roadmap. It starts with the individual, moves to the nation's struggle, faces a massive crisis of faith, rediscovers God's eternal nature, and then, only after all of that, does it burst into praise. It's like a guide for the soul's journey.
But you know, even with this clear path, there was this feeling that the story wasn't finished. And right in the middle of all the struggle and doubt, this new, powerful hope starts to emerge. A vision of the future that would change everything.
This takes us back to David. But this isn't David the fugitive or David the sinner. This is David the prophet, looking way beyond his own time, beyond his own kingdom, to a ruler who would be completely different from anyone else.
Okay, this verse right here is one of the most important in the entire book. It's a total game changer. David, who is the king, is talking about someone he calls my Lord. He sees a future king invited by God himself to sit at his right hand, the ultimate place of power. This is the great messianic promise.
So who is this promised Messiah? Well, he's a king, for sure, one who will ultimately triumph over all his enemies. But he's also described as an eternal priest, someone who doesn't just rule over his people, but who saves them. This combination of kingly power and priestly salvation, that's the ultimate hope of the Psalms.
And it is this hope that lights the fuse for the epic's grand finale. With the promise of this coming king and priest, the whole story pivots and begins its final incredible climb toward praise.
And notice how this final crescendo begins. After this whole journey through crisis and looking forward with hope, the call to praise starts exactly where the book began, with one person, my soul. It's a personal choice, a single voice deciding to give thanks.
But it doesn't stay there. not for long. The circle of praise immediately gets bigger. The song calls out to all of humanity. Kings, rulers, nations, every single person. The personal song is becoming a global anthem.
And then, just when you think it can't get any bigger, it explodes beyond the human world. The call goes out to the entire cosmos. The sun, the moon, the stars, they are all summoned to join the choir. The praise has become universal.
And finally, we hit the climax. It's just this unrestrained, joyful, noisy celebration. Trumpets, harps, dancing, every instrument, every kind of expression is pulled into this final, massive act of worship, which leads us right back to that last verse we started with.
So you see, the Psalms aren't just a random collection of songs. They actually map out a journey, from the lonely questions of Moses, through the personal pain of David, to the hope of a coming king, and finally into a symphony of universal praise. It's a path we're all on, really. The only question left is, where do you find yourself on that path today?